FX presents the Indu Podcast with your host, T. Sterling Watson.
Good morning, Indubians. I'm T. Sterling Watson.
And I'm Kortney.
This is the Indu Podcast. Thank you for stopping by and pressing play. This is episode 92. I mean, I could actually start counting weeks again, can I? Because it's
I hope so. It's the beginning of the year, so
it is. So this is what, week 4 then? I think
it is something like that.
Yeah, and I do want to actually start the savings thing again. For those at home, I'll try to just remember to give out the number of how much you should have in your savings account, because Kortney, I just came back from a trip.
Woohoo! Tell me about it.
I will. But first, let me just ask, how are you? How are you doing?
I am doing great. I cannot complain at all.
That's good.
How are you?
Good. I'm good as well. Although I just want to brag on you a little bit, if I can. Can I?
Sure.
I'm very proud of you of your word count that you've been doing so far. I mean, you're writing, so you're progressing. Very productive.
Thank you.
So
thank you very much.
I cannot wait. I know I'm one of the beta readers, so I'm patiently waiting. And I know you're waiting for me to do my little teaser trailers for you, which I haven't forgotten. They're on the back burner. So, but yeah.
Well, thank you for reminding me that they're on the back burner, that I don't have them.
Well, I shouldn't.
I'm not ready for them yet, so it's all good.
Okay, good, because I mean it's only boiling in the back, and that's how my creative process is. Once I get an idea, I'll sit and think about it and design it in my head, and then start working on it. So it's still cooking. So
that works.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to publicly say that I'm proud of you, and I'm excited for what's to come from your lovely mind, your imagination.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited too.
Yes. But I will patiently wait for that. In the meantime, but yes, I did go to a trip. I went to PodCon 2, which many of you, but definitely you, my mother, a few other people really encouraged me to go once I told them about it. And they're like, yeah, you definitely should go. Why wouldn't you go? Go. So I went.
Yeah.
Awesome. This was in Seattle. Have you been to Seattle before?
I haven't. Have you ever been outside of the trip?
I have never been. I've never been to the West Coast. So
it was a big deal for you then.
It was a big deal for many reasons. It's the first time I've been to the West Coast. It's the first time I've traveled this far from home by myself. And it's also one of the first times I went somewhere without knowing someone at the destination that I'm going to. So just like, I want to say a fish out of water, but I didn't feel that much out of water. I will say, and I'll be giving a lot of shout outs in this episode. The first one going to Vilissa, who is a fellow Indubian, great friend of the show. She told me that once I leave like Eastern Standard Time and go to the Pacific, what is it, Pacific Standard or Pacific Coastal Time? I think it's Standard. Anyway,
I think it's Pacific Standard.
Yeah,
I think
that it's gonna be weird for me, mostly at night and then in the morning, and it truly was.
So the way the sun is in the sky when you wake up.
Yeah, because I'm like, shouldn't it be brighter by now? And I know where my hotel was, there was like covered by buildings, but still, it was very dark. Like, what's going on? But yeah. But let me back up before we get into that, because I do want to talk about the trip. I do have a segment. It's going to be really irregular, and actually, Kortney, this is the segment you can join in on too whenever we do this or we take a trip. But plane thoughts. So it's thoughts that you have when you're on the plane. All the whole plane process, the boarding, the flight itself, how it made you feel, if you watched anything. I don't think I'm going to give this a jingle, but maybe I might. I don't know. It'll just be like an airplane sound in the background.
Wow, that was my airplane sound.
I liked it.
I don't know.
Because that's what it sounds like if you're standing right outside and it's just zooming by you. Like a small... Oh my God, I have a video.
Spaceship or something?
Yeah, let me write this down because I have a video I need to share with you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to say cat rocket, and I will tweet this later because people are going to be like, I want to know what this is. So yeah, I'll have to tweet it later. Anyway,
I want to know what it is. What is cat rocket?
It's well, okay. What I'm going to do, I'll tweet it to you now, and then I'll go story later about I'm going to tweet this. I'm going to tweet the video to you, but I'm going to talk about other things. So
okay.
So it's going to be like an inside joke for us right now until that time comes. So yes, Seattle. This also was my first Uber rides, or my first time ordering an Uber. Is that how you say it? Call it Uber? Order an Uber?
Order an Uber, call it. Either one, I think.
Okay. The first time I used the Uber service, I'll put it that way. And that was also nice. I did the Uber pool, which meant I shared with someone. So they sat in the back seat. I sat in the front. I got dropped off first at the luxurious Sheraton Grand, which was a beautiful, immaculate hotel. I just felt like I was some plebeian walking in from the street. Like, I do not belong here, but this is where my room is. So the hotel not the hotel, the lobby was huge, and like the floors are all shined and like pristine. There were just bellhops coming up, "May I help you, sir?" And I'm like, oh well.
Did they really sound like that though?
No, they if they did, I would not have been surprised. Like, I am honored. Like, I feel like I don't belong. I should be dusting your shoes or something. I don't know, but I went and checked in. The front desk clerk was very helpful. She gave me a map of the city and gave me some recommendations of stuff to check out, which actually checked out because I found myself later on that evening at one of the places she recommended for dinner, and it was great. Like, I wanted to go back and thank her, but she was already gone when I got back. So
yeah.
My room, which I did get to show you, my room, the thing you and I were both impressed most by, I think, was the mirror in my bathroom, which was a touchscreen mirror. There was
amazing.
It was amazing. It had a moon symbol, which meant, like, I guess, late at night you have to go to the bathroom, whatever, but you don't want to turn on the lights and kill yourself, blind yourself, I suppose. But push this little moon button, it dims it, so it's all nice and peaceful. Or you just leave it on maybe at night, so it's like a bit of a night light, so it's not a harsh light.
Yeah. And I'm all about nice ambiance throughout your day and throughout your night, if that's your thing, which is my thing. That's pretty cool.
It was. I enjoyed it immensely. And what else about it? It did have dimmers as well, so you could brighten it, light or dim it, whatever. That was nice. I really liked it. The other thing I liked about it, and many people probably have seen this either on Twitter or Instagram or even Facebook, my room, or I'm pretty sure all the rooms, they had a windowsill that you could actually sit in. Maybe not fully, but there was a fainting couch is what I was calling it. My mother gave me another term, a chase, which I still didn't look up just to see if that's exactly the kind of couch it was. But it was a couch that I was able to kind of push against the windowsill and sit in the window and just kind of gaze out and look at the city. And I kind of did that both nights I was there, and it was just very soothing, very calming. So
good.
That's
a good part about having cool furniture with great views, and
yeah.
Like, I think Seattle's known for their lights, right? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I do know. Normally for me, I think of Seattle. I think of the Space Needle, which I did not get to see. Yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sad about it too.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not going to put you on blast of what you're doing because of the time, but it's all good. But I did not get to see the Space Needle, so that is a mission for me to return, which I will be doing. I will go back to Seattle because I really had a really great time.
Did you not see the Space Needle from the plane though, or was that something else?
I actually saw it from my drive into the city.
Oh, okay. Well, that
And
counts as something.
it does a little bit, but even then, if I wasn't like close enough where I could take a picture and then be like, do you see it? Do you see it? Because yeah, you would have to really look for it. And I was actually really looking for it. And then I happened to notice it. And even from where I was, I'm like, oh, and I'm like, it's not as big as I thought it would be from a distance, but I'm sure it's still a pretty decent size because based on a lot of pictures that I see, it makes it seem like it's the tallest thing in the city, but I don't think that it is. I don't think it is.
It's disappointing.
It is a little bit because I was hoping even from my room I'd be able to see it, but I couldn't. I could just see other buildings. Plus, I wasn't like on the top floor. I was on the 10th floor, which was still high, but not high enough to overlook the city. They do have a building that has like tours where it's like I don't want to say it's the tallest building, but it's like the tallest observatory is apparently in Seattle. So I'm pretty sure if you got to that building, got to the top, you could probably see everything else. But again, I didn't have time for that. What I really needed to do was just investigate because there was a shuttle that could have brought me to the Space Needle, but I don't know how much that was. Like I said, going back, I don't know when, but when I do, I will definitely be checking that out. And I want to give another shout out here to Jada, who on Twitter, I had said, hey, I'm in Seattle, blah, blah, blah. So she is one of two people that contacted me and we did meet up and she introduced me to Pike's Place Chowder that had
chowder. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it had the best. Okay, it's the only seafood bisque I've had, but this seafood bisque had, I was telling people it had like 17 fishes in it, but that's or 17 delicious sea creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, fish. But it was really
I should have let that slide because
just fishes?
Yeah, because of your excitement, but no. Good grammar is never
I know.
Excitement is never an excuse to not have good grammar.
Sometimes the deliciousness just grabs hold of your English and just slaps it in the face. And like, it's like you will not know how to speak right now. So
understand.
I've heard comedians say this where sometimes you have like that barbecue that's so good that like if it's got like bread under it, you request like 2 breads. So
yeah, I get it. It
happens. Yeah. Anyway, the seafood bisque I don't even remember what the size it was, but it was so good. And it was what Jada recommended, and it was a great recommendation. We had a lovely chat just catching up. By the way, Jada, we met back in YComic-Con or in Baltimore during the YComic-Con event.
Mm-hmm.
That is episode 72 and 73. So please do check those out for a refresher.
Nice. Hey, Jada.
Shout out to Jada. That was actually night 2. The first day I went to, I should have wrote down the name of the restaurant I went to because it was a great one. And I had a seared salmon that was drizzled with not chipotle, cilantro butter with a side of vegetables, the vegetables being zucchini, broccoli, carrots, and squash, and also a side of rice. And this was a very delectable meal. I am so sorry. I had thought I took a picture, but when I left my hotel, I was so excited about exploring the city that I should have let my phone charge, and I did not. So my phone died in the middle of me taking pictures. So
that's really rude. And I'm really sorry that your phone decided to do that. For the
Yeah,
record.
I was too, because I needed people to see how delicious my food was, and it failed me. But if you are in the Seattle area, please go to the marketplace, go down to the lower level, and go to the Sound View Cafe. So it's like down and in the back. And I found it kind of by accident because I was just wandering the city. That's what I was doing. I was just kind of wandering around, and I kind of wandered into the marketplace because, like, ooh, what are these big bright lights? And then I heard people yelling, and they were yelling because they were throwing fish to each other.
Ah, really?
Yes, they were.
That's so cool.
So I watched that, and then I got to sample some smoked salmon, which was, oh my god, so delicious. And like, it's some of the biggest helpings of fish I've ever seen you can purchase, and I just wanted to buy all of it, but like it was like $50 a pound, so I'm like, I'm not equipped. I do not have the funds to do this. There's even salmon jerky, which I've never even heard of before, and I really wanted some, but I'm like, I don't have the money to do this right now. I wish I had known. So again, this is all for planning for the next time I go, because I need salmon jerky in my life, and I need more of that smoked salmon, and I need to go back to the Soundview Cafe. I need it all. I need all of it. And it was just so good. But I'm just happy I wandered.
That's the good thing about going to a new city and not seeing everything, because it gives you just another excuse to go back there. So there you go. There's your excuse.
Right. And maybe to buy some stuff for the trip home. Like, they have the biggest crab legs I've ever seen. Like, they're bigger than you, Kortney. They're huge.
That's not hard though. So whatever.
Well, I mean, normally I'm used to them. Like, it's like, oh, a crab leg is like, I can just hold one in my hand, like, right. I'm scratching you. But this one, like, you need like two hands just for one of the legs.
Oh, so that sounds so good.
Like, it could feed a community. Like, so
or one person.
It's massive. Like, I was just I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is huge. We don't have these in Connecticut. I've never seen these. So yeah, I was excited. So yeah, that was actually the first night and my wandering around, and it did rain only the first night. So my second Uber driver who brought me back to the airport, he was telling me, he was like, yeah, it doesn't rain as much as people say that it does. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, if you say so. I mean, I believe him. You've been living there for like 8 years. So, I mean, why wouldn't I believe him? And he was telling me some other tours to check out, such as there's apparently Seattle is built on top of an older city, and that city is still underground. My mom asked me if people still live there. I don't know, but they have tours. And he told me, like, just take half the day and take that tour. The tour will only last 90 minutes, but still just take half the day. So I'm like, okay.
Why? I wonder.
I don't know, but
if the tour only lasts 90 minutes,
why do I need half the day?
Right. Seems like a waste.
It does. But it was intriguing enough that that's another thing that's on my to-do list when I return. So it's that, it's the Space Needle, and then of course just more wandering. And that is my plan.
Awesome.
Now, the other event that was happening, and I do thank Vilissa once again, she had let me know that the Women's March was happening that Saturday. So I did get to stop by. Well, not even stop by. I was on the other side. It was happening on the other side of my hotel. So I just kind of walked out and I just kind of watched and, supported, joined a few chants. I am woman, hear me roar. So I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say it, but, how could you not? It was,
we need your support.
Yeah. So on the other side of the hotel was PodCon. So that's what I went to go do, since that's the reason I was there. So PodCon, let me open up my notebook that PodCon had given me. I got swag. Oh, and let me tell you this. I got so excited. Actually, I got a little dismayed because I looked through they gave me a bag, and I looked all through the bag, but apparently not carefully enough. But I found another pin. So I have another pin to add to my jacket to commemorate PodCon 2. So I will add that later. I just found it today, so I'm like, oh,
Well, that's good. Glad you found it.
They gave us these orange bags, these light bags to put on your back or whatever. So I probably won't be wearing it because it's orange, and bright, and I want to stand out. But because I was a Kickstarter from the beginning and supported, I got swag. There's many tables. Some were podcasters. I got to talk to a couple of them, such as the Dexplanations. I still haven't listened to any of their episodes yet, but I definitely will. I just want to give them a shout out because we chatted a little bit. At times, it sounds like their episodes are similar to what we do, where we just talk about kind of whatever. Not that we explain anything, but just, it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Some of their topics are the uncanny valley, the Monty Hall problem. I don't know what that is. Rabies, large organisms, duels, fear and phobias. It's just, a few. That's Dexplanations. They're on iTunes and SoundCloud. Giving them a shout out because, we chatted. Geekify. Okay, Kortney, you're going to like this one. I haven't gone to their website yet, but geekifyinc.com. What they had on display, basically, it looks like that they make custom notebooks. It gets better.
Okay, I'm listening.
The customizing of the notebooks is basically how the notebooks are packaged. I saw a notebook that was similar to what River Song carries around, looking like looking exactly like
a TARDIS.
Yes, the TARDIS. There was one that had the Harry Potter symbol on it, the triangle,
the Deathly Hallow.
Yes. And many other really, obviously geeky things, but I think they custom make some of these things. They do some jewelry as well. They had some really nice things. I felt weird about I probably should have just asked if I could have taken a picture of some of their stuff so I could share it. But definitely do go to their website and check them out. Geekify, that's GeeKify Inc. or INC.com.
Nice.
They're based in Boulder, Colorado.
Sweet. They came a little ways to get there.
They did. And I wish I asked more people where they were from, because I feel like I was the furthest traveler, because every time I told people I'm from Connecticut, they're like, oh, wow, you really travel out here. I'm like, yeah, because there were a lot of local people there. I mean, why wouldn't there be? Another place or another card I picked up was from Hot Dog Studio. They make custom little things. I don't even know what to call them. I don't know what they are. For me,
they weren't hot dogs.
They were not hot dogs.
Okay.
Their logo is a dog that looks like a hot dog. But they have an Etsy page, and I only sighed because it wasn't an easy name to give you. So I would have to type it out. I'll probably put it in the show notes. I'll do that because it's one of those bit.ly links, but it doesn't have a custom name. So I don't want to read all the letters because I'm not sure if that's correct. So once I find that out, I'll let you know.
Okay.
There were several vendors who were selling or trying to entice you to use their product, such as Edge. And I like the way that they spelled it. It's EDGDE. So it's a palindrome.
Because I would have been like Edge. Okay.
Exactly. So what Edge does is similar to what Podbean does. So you can, upload your stuff to them, and then they'll just, host it for you. And I think they do other things, but once I found out what they were doing, I'm like, okay, I hear you. I see what you're doing. I personally don't need this service right now, but I'm going to hold on to it. And I think I might know other people that might need your services. So I took his card, and I'm going to look into him a little more later. There were several other places that did this too, and I probably should have got their cards as well. But I didn't get everyone's. And some people, I didn't really know what they were doing, like what they were selling, or if they're just selling their show, which was fine. Some people just left cards on a table, so I picked up one of them. The Medical Confessions, Your Remedy for Serious Medicine. And I think it's a podcast. I'm not sure, but I picked it up because I mean, they had a microphone on it, so I'm assuming that's what they were there for. And I'm assuming it's a podcast, maybe about medical things. And people like, I will confess that I had my spleen removed. I don't know, so I will find out. But these were some of the people that, or some of the people I actually interacted with that had booths and whatnot. Nissan was there. I think they were a sponsor, and you had to take out a quiz and to figure out what kind of car you would drive. Ideally, I got a Leaf car, not a Leaf, but like the actual brand.
Yeah. Were they giving away cars?
They were not.
No. Okay.
How they enticed me to come over to take this survey was some guy was walking around with a tablet that just said free stuff. So I'm like, I want free stuff.
That would do it.
It did it for me. The free stuff that I got for taking the survey was a Lightning USB cord, which at first I thought, I was like, okay, this doesn't work, but I had the thing flipped upside down. So yeah, it was a user error. So it was me. Yeah. But it clipped together so you can like attach it to stuff. And it was the only thing that I thought that was worth taking because they had a clear bag and I'm like, I don't want this. And something
just a clear bag?
A clear plastic bag, which I mean, I don't know what I would use it for. I mean, I've got enough bags and yeah, it was kind of lame. I forgot what the other one was.
Maybe somebody would have found use out of a clear bag. Who knows?
I suppose. I mean, it was like a tote bag for those people that like tote bags, I guess. I'm like, I already got a bag. Yeah. The bag I got was much cooler. I mean, it's orange, and I'm not going to really use it, but it looks more durable. Plus, nobody sees what's in the bag. This was a clear bag. I don't need people seeing what I have in the bag. Yeah. Authors were there. So people who brought their books or currently writing a book, which was fine, which was great because there are a lot of podcasts that are fiction based and telling ongoing stories. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I can't wait to do the circuit.
Oh yes, it'll be very exciting. There were many workshops happening, which I did not participate in. I have a minimal amount of regret about doing that. But I'm here just to experience what I can. And I really wanted to see some of the live shows. And that's basically what I did. And we'll talk about those in a second. There were a number of meet and greets, but you had to enter a lottery in order to be chosen to, meet whoever it is you wanted. So I'd watch from afar some people meeting some famous podcasters like Hank Green and I think some of the McElroy brothers, I think maybe did meet and greets. There were creator chats where I think was chosen by lottery or a small group of number could go with a creator and just have like a one-on-one discussion, like in a group setting rather. So it was like kind of an intimate thing from what I heard. But the live podcast that I went to go see was Oh No, It's Ross and Carrie. So that was that was actually a pretty funny show. Ross started out talking about Scientology, which got everybody all excited because basically, I guess his thing now is anytime he visits a city, he tries to find if they have a Scientology org, and then he'll try to see if they know who he is, and he'll try to go as far as he can until maybe they find out who he is and if they do at all. So I think he was successful in not being found out, or at least I think he went to Portland. I don't think he went to the one in Seattle yet, because he told people, like, if you want to hang out later, you know where to find me. So
that's so cool.
But what they did though, while they were in Seattle, they took a tour and they took a review of the tour. And I'd rather not go into detail because it's basically a podcast episode. So I don't know if it's out yet, but I say just go look for it, and then you can hear their episode, and maybe you can hear me laughing in the background.
That's smart. I'm sorry. I was wondering what they were gonna do, because what Oh No, Ross and Carrie is about. Ross and Carrie will go and debunk any well, not try to debunk it, but to basically test it out and see what it's all about. So if it's like a haunted house, they'll go and they'll bring their tools and they'll try to figure out what's actually going on there.
Yes.
They've done Scientology, as we talked about. They've done other religions and stuff where they'll go in and just kind of get information about the religion or the cult or whatever, and report back. So I was wondering, because most of their stuff takes like months because I mean, it's a investigative research that they do. So a lot of stuff that they do tends to take a little while. So I was wondering what they were going to be talking about, but that makes sense for them to do a tour of something in the city that they're live, recording, and then talk about it. So it's pretty clever.
Yeah. And thank you too for explaining what their show is about, because that sums it up perfectly. And they gave a review, and they have their rating system, and they gave an overall pretty good rating of this particular tour that they took. And it's very amusing. I highly recommend checking out their podcast, and specifically that episode, and the Scientology ones too, because you learn a lot.
Oh yeah. And they're lengthy, so you can like listen to them over time. It's great.
It is. I did sit next to someone who I felt was a little odd because they didn't laugh at anything. I think they only laughed at the very end. I'm like, do you not find this amusing? But I didn't talk to them. I didn't ask. I'm like, well, whatever. Maybe they're just processing it differently. Who knows? I ended up staying in the same room for the next podcast, which was SciShow Tangents. And I only stayed around because of the host of this show is Hank Green, who is, I don't know if people know John Green, who is the author of writing many books, some of which have become movies. But or if you're familiar with SciShow or Crash Course, which is how I actually got introduced to them. And but this podcast is he has some of his science friends come in and compete with science facts, like who has the better fact, and they do like a fact off, or someone will bring I think one fact and two lies, and just science related, and they have a theme throughout the whole episode, and this particular episode was celebrities in science. So it was actually pretty interesting. And my conflict with this was I was choosing between staying to watch this live show or going to one of the panels to maybe learn something. But but I actually learned something in this show too. So I learned quite a few interesting facts and things about famous people who are known for other things, but had contributed in some way to science. So
question for you.
Yes.
Are you going to listen to these podcasts again after they've been edited and to kind of see what the differences are, or are you going to just let them be because you've already heard everything?
I'm going to actually go back and listen to see like if anything was cut, or if I notice if anything was cut, because there were a couple times where it was like, yeah, we'll just cut that out. But I know that sometimes they will say that, but I'll hear them like in the podcast, like, oh yeah, we'll cut that out. But I'm like, I don't think you cut anything out. But sometimes they do. So I want to see if they do. I want to see if they add any extra elements. And the thing I liked about the SciShow Tangents is there was a guy who was on the panel with them that was playing the sound effects. Like if there's a special intro, like we do for this podcast, and I did it for our live show. I actually played it live on the show. So I'm like, oh, okay, they do it too. Okay, cool. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You do it like the pros do it.
I do. So that was fun. I think I took a break after that, and I went to go get some soup, and I sat at the table, and I'm like, well, I guess I felt weird. And this is just me. I still struggle with networking with people, or just walking up to strangers and be like, hey, not what are you doing here, but like, are you in the podcast too? Or, whatever. So I just found a table and I just sat down. Plus I had to catch up on like my notes, and I took my notebook out and wrote down stuff that I saw so far. And I think I responded to some text messages, but a new friend had sat down next to me. I believe his name is Nelson, but he told me a very interesting story about himself, but like also about Mormonism, which I knew nothing about. So I'm like, oh, wait until Kortney hears this, because Mormonism, according to him, because he's a former Mormon, works. The way he described it sounds a lot like Scientology. Not necessarily the religion part of it, but more so the cult part of it. But it's more accepted as a religion, but they are really stuck on a lot of their old ways, and there's just things about it where he's just like, I can't follow this anymore. There's just too many things that's wrong with it that doesn't line up with, you know, the rest of society. Like, it's just not acceptable. So it was a really interesting conversation, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I need to learn more about it, like, because what he was saying was just really fascinating. I'm like, I bet Kortney would really love this too. So now I'm telling you.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Mormonism, but I've only heard about the similarities in the cult factor of it, but yeah, what I know about it is pretty basic.
Same for me. I just know that it exists. I know they, and according to him, they don't condemn oh my god, the word just escaped me. Polygamy. They don't condemn it, but like, it still happens. Or they don't promote it. Like, they might deny that it happens, but like, it still happens, and they're not like, I don't know. It's weird. There's a whole bunch of things going on, and yeah. So it was a very interesting chat, and he kept apologizing. He's like, I don't mean to rant about it. I'm like, oh no, this is very fascinating stuff.
So how did this happen? Did he just kind of come up and sit next to you and just started blabbing, or did he like, why did he feel the need to tell you about Mormonism right there?
Well, I think it just became like how conversations naturally flow. And what happened was, like, there's a set number of tables, and they're pretty round, so it's not like you sit down and you're directly next to someone, but he sat down. So I engaged. I asked him how he was doing. I asked him if he was a podcaster or if he's just someone who listens. So he said, I'm just someone who listens. And we kind of went from there, talking about podcasts that he listens to. And I think I told him which podcast I just came from, or what I just came from seeing. And I'm trying to remember exactly how we got into him being a Mormon, or a former Mormon, which, now I say, it's kind of hard to say. Ex-Mormon, I think it'd be easier to say. But how we got into it, I don't quite remember. But and that's the funny thing about conversations sometimes, is just how they flow into it and what you take from it. I absorbed a lot from what we were talking about, because we did talk about music, and I think I was just fascinated of what else people listen to, and how they were introduced to certain podcasts, I suppose. So I'm trying to think of what podcast he was listening to. I think they were more of the informative type. I think there's some NPR stuff. Definitely NPR, because there was one he recommended to me. That was a music-based podcast, which I need to check out too. Which introduced him to some other new music too. But that still doesn't answer how we got into Mormonism, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
So,
well, sometimes this just happens, you know?
It does. Yes, you're right. From there, I did go back into the main stage area to see The Illusionist. That's spelled ALUUSSI. Illusion. Not illusion, but illusion. And I've listened to her podcast before. She's all about words. And I think you would appreciate this podcast too, because she's a writer, and she's just in love with words. And oh man, I forgot the subject that she was talking about, but it was good, and I do know that it was a good one, and it was very interesting. I've only heard like one other episode before her she did her live thing. Hers was pretty short. It's like a half an hour. And then after that was John Green. He has his own podcast where he will just basically read essays that he's written. And those were also very interesting as well. I thought they were going to do something together, but I think many people were there because they were waiting for my brother and me. Now, that podcast in particular was one of the podcasts I've been listening to for years and kind of got me into podcasting myself. So I finally got to see, in a sense, some podcasting legends in the flesh.
Nice.
And the theme behind their show, if you've never heard of it, they are three brothers who give advice to people that write to them, and their advice may or may not be sound or something you should actually do, but sometimes they do actually tell people, how to try to help them. But most of the times they're just doing it for comedy and will make fun of you for a little bit. Occasionally they'll also take Yahoo questions. Like, people will find some really interesting Yahoo questions and send it to them, and they'll answer those questions as well. And other times they'll have some other crazy segments like Haunted Doll Watch, which is what they did.
Ooh.
What Justin, the oldest brother, what he will do, he'll find like dolls that are haunted that are being sold on either Craigslist or eBay, and he'll read the ratings, or not the ratings, but the reviews, or the person who is selling these said dolls and all the weird quirks about them. It's pretty funny. He'll also do Munch Squad, which is reviews of food, press releases from like Burger King or Taco Bell. Most times it's Taco Bell that's introducing some weird food. And for us, it's like, who asked for this? But
right.
It's very, very interesting or very funny. And being in the live show for this particular podcast was probably the hardest I laughed at any of their episodes. And I think because I was within the community, or everyone was a fan and I was laughing with them. And plus it was just a very funny episode, or a very funny time. Like, I had a really great time. Like, I had tears in my eyes. It was just the laughs. They were full.
I love it.
I do want to give a shout out to the person I was sitting next to, Lauren. She had a fidget cube. I don't know if she noticed that. I noticed that she had a fidget cube, but I'm like, and I almost pointed it out, but I'm like, no, I'll wait. If she listens to this particular episode, hey Lauren, I see you, and I saw you had a fidget cube. I had one too. Let's see. I do want to give a shout out to this bowler hat guy. Now, I don't think he would probably be listening because I didn't give him a card, but he surprised me because he came in to my elevator as we're going back to our respective rooms. This was after the night ended. Everything, we're all going home or to our rooms. And he came in and was like, well, boys, I guess you're the plans to the bomb or whatever heist he was planning. Because he had a curly mustache as well. And I think it was a real mustache and the bowler hat. And then he just put on this voice, this whole character. And it was like he just started an improv right there in the elevator.
Oh, that's amazing.
it was. And I knew he knew the two other guys he was talking to. But since I was like the only other one in the elevator, I'm like, am I part of this too? And I'm like, yeah, of course you are. You didn't give him the plans? And I'm like, I didn't get the plans. So this scene really only lasted for a few seconds because I was the first person to get off. But they shouted back to me, like, oh, we'll make sure we send you the memo. We'll send it to your room. I'm like, thank you so much. And that just touched my heart so much. Like, oh, that was great. That was just wonderful.
I do love random interchanges like that with people who just get it, It just makes my heart happy.
It did. Like, I almost didn't want to leave the elevator. I just kind of wanted to ride with. I was like, what are you guys doing? I should have just hung out with them. But
yeah, next time.
Next time. But that was pretty awesome. I overheard a quote. This was while I was at PodCon. I was in between shows. If more people, hold on. If more people, where did I write? Oh, commented. I'm sorry. If more people commented on a post versus retweet it, you effed up. So I don't know. That just touched me. Like, Yeah.
Is that you feel that that's true for you?
I've seen it, but I think it also depends on what it is that you are kind of discussing. But you know what? I
Right.
think you're right. Because if you're asking a question, that's one thing. But I actually did that recently, and I was supposed to talk about it last episode, but I posed a question asking if there was a movie trailer that you liked more than the movie. Not saying that the movie sucked, but that, really resonated more than the movie itself.
Yeah.
And then I used an example. I said that the Speed Racer trailer was better than the Speed Racer movie, and I said the Speed Racer movie was trash. And
Okay.
I offended a lot of people because they're like, "Wait a second, that
I'm like,
movie,
oh,
that movie is like a masterpiece." And
a masterpiece.
yeah,
Wow.
have you seen it?
I haven't because it looked like trash to me. The trailer. I didn't even like the trailer.
Yeah, and
yeah, I wasn't gonna go see that. Waste my time.
yeah, I've since re-seen it or rewatched it because it was on Netflix. They took it off at the end of the year, and I will say, and mind you, this was made by the Wachowskis or the Wachowskis.
Yeah,
Wachowskis? Yeah,
Wachowskis.
Wachowskis. Yeah, and Wachowskis. That's what it is.
I was about to say it's Wachowski because it's not Wachowski though.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the bank. There's a bank called Wachovia. There's a bank called Wachovia. That's why I keep. Yeah.
Wachowski, the Wachowskis.
Well, Wachowskis. Yes, the Wachowskis made Speed Racer, so it's not even their best movie.
Good. Right. It should have been good.
Right. People were saying like it was ahead of its time. I mean, they were giving their valid reasons of why it was, such a stellar movie according to them. And I rewatched it, and I still stand by that it's like it's really fun eye candy, but like it's not a great movie in my opinion. Like it's okay. I don't consider it trash, but it's not the Wachowskis' best movie by a long shot.
Right.
It's not their worst movie, but it's not their best movie.
Tell us how you really fit in.
I mean, I think there's only maybe 2 movies I still haven't seen by them, and that's Jupiter Ascending and
I heard it was trash though.
Bound. I think it's Bound. But that's like one of their really, really early movies.
But they did do Sense8, and you love Sense8.
I do. I love the Matrix trilogy. Yes, I like all 3 of them. What's the big sigh for?
Live your best life, I guess.
I thought you were in with me with,
So I like them, but I don't love them.
Okay.
They are problematic, but
they are
appreciate them. So
well, I love it as a set. I mean, I definitely love the first movie, yes. But
yes.
I've definitely grown attachment to parts 2 and 3 because I get it.
Yeah. I get what they were trying to go for.
Yeah. Cloud Atlas, I'm willing to give it a second watch. It took me like a couple days to watch it. It is a very long movie, but it's also a very what's the word I want to use?
Isn't it weird and depressing?
A little bit, yeah. It's very involved. It's got like multiple stories going on, and it takes place like in generations.
Right.
Using the same actors multiple times, which I mean, the concept, I don't even know what the concept is, to be honest with you. So
okay.
I don't know what the movie is about. But I watched it over a period of a couple days. So I really want to give it another shot, watch it in one sitting if possible. I don't even know how long it is. I want to say it's like, I'm going to exaggerate and say it's like 5 hours. It's not that long, but I
don't think it's
like
5 hours. But I've heard it's long. I heard it is pretty. I don't know what a solid like PG word is to say for it because it's trailer's trash.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I almost want to say it's candy coated trash, but that's what I called Speed Racer. So.
I mean, you could use the term multiple times, and I think that would be acceptable. It's your show.
Yeah, it's a different kind of trash.
Well, but it could still be. If it's applicable, go for it. I'm okay with repeating words. If it's applicable.
How about this? It's edible trash. because I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's different. So
I watched it, and I wouldn't mind like, giving it a second try to determine if it actually is trash or not. Like, okay, this is not trash. This is more of like fluff. Like, there's nothing here for me, and it's
but
like
it's not
cotton candy.
necessarily bad.
Right.
Maybe bad for you, but the taste is all right. It's palatable.
Right. Speed Racer is cotton candy. Like, I can eat it, but I'm not really enjoying it because it's gross and it's sticky. And I'm like, I'm gross now. I
And it
don't want
doesn't
this
like
anymore.
stick to you, and you'll be hungry 30 seconds after you finish.
Yeah, like I need something with more meat, to chew on, like the Matrix. Yeah.
There you go. Nice tie-in.
Yeah. So all of that to say that to explain something I was supposed to talk about in episode 91, but there you have it. The Wachowskis. I keep wanting to say Wachovia. Not a bank. They didn't invest in any of this, but there you have it. And that has nothing to do with what I was discussing, because I do want to talk about how everyone had so much more cooler t-shirts than I had, or that I have, even in the store. So I'm like, oh, everybody's got a cool t-shirt here. Because I went with, I did a quick poll because I'm like, I don't know what to wear. Let me ask my Twitter fam. And I only got like 7 votes, I think. But I went with my multicolor neon microphone, which I think now is going to be my official con shirt. So anytime I go out to a con, that's probably what I'm going to be wearing, because now there's pictures of me meeting people, such as like when I met Jada, or when I was in the elevator, and back at Y Comic Con, all the pictures of me, I'm wearing this shirt. So I think that is now going to be my official shirt when I go out to meet and greet with my peers.
So, it seems to be doing you all right. So
yeah,
I concur with that decision.
And it is what the people voted for. They voted for that one. So I'm like, okay, I'll wear this one.
It's a pretty cool shirt.
Oh, thanks. It does. It's part of a set now, because I also have the headphones and I have a turntable.
Nice.
So go check those out at the Indupe store. There was also cosplay. Lots of cosplayers there.
Sweet.
Again,
I love how the cons, like, because that to me is not a traditional. Well, and I've never been to a con that's focused on podcasting, but it almost seems like cosplay would be more suited, I guess, to like a con, like a Comic Con or a nerdy con or something like that. But I love how it's kind of, well, cosplay is becoming very much more mainstream, just as like geekery is, and nerdiness. But I love that cosplay is also just more associated with cons, not necessarily the themed ones or the ones that are specifically for nerdy folk.
Right.
I love that cosplay is just a thing now. It's something that you do when you go to a con.
Exactly. And I was just excited to see it. Like, and it didn't seem weird to me. I think because like you and I were both kind of well versed in that culture now. Like it's like we see it, and I almost want to say we expect it, but I wasn't even thinking about it until I saw them. Like, of course they'd be here, because as I told you before, there's like fictional podcasts where they'll some are like all about wizards or fantasy rather, and they might dress up as characters. I actually recognized a few of the characters that were dressed up because I've listened to some of those podcasts. It's like, I know exactly who you are. So I felt that was pretty cool. It was actually very inclusive. I'll say that as well. And I told that to Violissa, like just how excited I was to see like so many different colors and people and shapes of people and again the cosplayers. And this particular con, even though it was focused on podcasts, you didn't have to be a podcaster to be there. It was if you love listening to them, if you love making them, anywhere in between. Again, if you were black or white or literally purple, because I did meet a purple person, it was handicap accessible. So I did see some people that just got around very easily. So I'm like, oh, well done. You made it easy for the disabled community to be here. It felt like what FanCon was trying to be or wanted to be, but PodCon never like said like we're trying to include everyone. PodCon just did it like, and it's like effortlessly. It seemed like, I think because with podcasts it's for everyone, so everyone came out.
Nice.
So there was definitely
sounds
something.
awesome.
Two more things I wanted to point out that I really liked here. There was a community wall, which apparently they did at the first PodCon. And what that was is like this huge wall that they placed where all the booths were. And some parts of the wall, they had like a thing where it was like, it just said, draw something. So you just draw whatever you felt like. Another part of the wall would say, explain an inside joke. And then everyone gave their definition or how you would explain an inside joke. And it was just interesting, like just different things, different creative things to participate with this wall. And the other thing I really liked was they had a quiet room when you're feeling overwhelmed. And I had walked by this room and I saw it and I didn't know what it meant, like a quiet room. And then when I was sitting in the main stage, they had like these PowerPoints that were playing on the side and explained what some of these things were. And that's basically if you're feeling overwhelmed, like things are too noisy, you just need to calm down and places to recenter and regroup. That's what the quiet room was for. So
that is so cool. Now that's a new one I've never really heard of from a con, at least.
Right. And it makes perfect sense because it can be loud and there's a lot of people and you just need your space sometimes. Like I need a space. I don't want to leave. And it was great because it was inside. You know, it was fairly big because I had seen it. I looked inside. I didn't know what was going on. And it said that the event lasted all day. I think from like maybe 9 to 6. I'm like, what is a quiet room? And it's literally a quiet room. So
that's cool.
That was awesome. So yeah, that was PodCon, and I definitely would like to go back next. I don't want to say next year, but the next time that they have one, because that was really great.
Awesome. I'm glad you had a good time.
Me too. I'm glad I went. Seattle was lovely. Really enjoyed the city. I wish I was there a little bit longer. But hey, that's why, like we talked about going back. That's why you go back, so can get those other things. I'm trying to think if there's any more shout outs. I think that I got everybody. And I will really do the best I can to put as many links as I can in the show notes because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'd love people to check out. The Pike Place Chowder, definitely, because that bisque, you at home, well, if you're in the US, you can order some bisque today and they will ship it to you.
Nice.
It's worth it. Yes.
Would they ship it like several hundred miles
to Arkansas?
Like to Arkansas? I mean, just
yes, they will. Yes.
What?
Yes, there are four kinds you can order. I believe there's the seafood bisque. Why am I trying to guess? I have the website right up because I was looking earlier. What chowders can you order? That's the seafood bisque I was looking at. This one is the smoked salmon chowder, which, oh my God, I want to try that so badly. There's the sampler 4-pack. That one is $77. But I mean, it's knocked off a few of it. Seared scallop chowder and the New England clam chowder.
Yes.
Is that the one that you're kind of
I just want it all. Like I know New England clam chowder, but I'm down to try it all. I'm okay with all of it.
Well,
all of it, please.
I mean, I can't go by without at least reading to you some of it, like the authentic Pacific Northwest flavors. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the smoked salmon chowder. Authentic Pacific Northwest flavors with Nova smoked salmon, capers, and cream cheese. A Seattle favorite. And it's included with the ingredients are smoked salmon, cream cheese, capers, potato, onion, celery, tomatoes, garlic, seasonings, shellfish stock, cream, milk, butter, flour. Just all natural stuff. Just that's the one I wish I had tried.
Thank you for making me
Got us
super
thankful.
hungry.
And that's not even the one I ate. The one I had had salmon, cod, crab, bay shrimp, garlic, black pepper, the sea salt. Just that one was the one that was voted nation's best at the Rhode Island Great Chowder Cook-Off. The one that I had, the seafood bisque that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm gonna have to say, I mean, I haven't had anything like it. I've only had lobster bisque, but this one, I mean, they had a huge chunk of salmon in it. Like, I think they forgot to cut it up, and I was not mad about it because I'm like, let me just eat this. Which I have some right now. But yeah, that's pikeplacechowder.com. And I will definitely, I mean, my birthday's coming up. So if you want to send me gift cards, you can send me gift cards to Pike Place Chowder, and then I can order my bisque.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
good.
Good.
Or Amazon.com. That you can do that too. But no, I'm selling Pike Place Chowder right now. And yeah, I think that is about it. The only other thing that happened today, well, not today, but during the weekend, I think we found out who is going to the Super Bowl, and that is the Rams and the Patriots. I don't know how you feel about either team.
Rooting for the Rams. That's all I got to say about the matter.
See, this is why we're friends. I mean, even though I live in New England, that doesn't mean I have to be a Patriots fan. And
we wouldn't be friends if you were. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: when the plane landed, because our flight took place during that game, the Patriots game, and when we landed, there was this guy behind me who, as soon as like we were given the all clear, we could turn our phones on and airplane mode off or whatever. He found out and he started applauding, and then he was like, "Oh, thank God." I thought he was about to start crying because he was just so like relieved that they won. I'm like, okay, calm down, dude. But I guess, he's a super fan, I guess. I don't know. It bummed me out a little bit, to be honest. I'm like, oh man, get over yourself. But hey, live your life, whatever. I'm not sorry for judging him or just being so whatever. I don't know. The Patriots are weird. That's the gentle word I can think of. But other than that, the Oscar nominations have come out, so I will be doing a special on that later. I don't think I'm going to take up a whole episode this year, but stay tuned for that, for my predictions. And yeah, I think that just about does it. So, do you have any further questions or any thoughts regarding?
No, but I'm
Seattle?
really glad that you went, and I'm glad that you had a great time, and I hope this is the beginning of many cons in your future, and hopefully one day soon you will be on the other end of it, not just as an attendee, but as a presenter or a vendor or something of that nature. This is just the beginning. So glad you had a good taste of it, and get ready.
Yeah, and I will say that is something I definitely would love to do. Like, yeah, I definitely want to be either on a panel, either as a panelist or as a moderator. I'd love to be a moderator of a panel, or even doing a podcast live, which we'll be doing later this year. But like, I would love to do it in that kind of venue, like be invited to be part of something like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I really hope you would be there too. I'm sitting here pointing at you like you're right here, but
I felt it.
Oh, thank you. Looking over as if you would be figuratively right here, but I mean the way that they had it set up, like I feel like I'm almost there already because I did that last year and plan on doing it again this year. So yeah, then just have a bigger stage, more people, and yeah, almost there. I'm on my way.
Nice. You're doing it.
Thanks. So where can people find you if they wanted to find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at I am K Hinton. where I don't tweet much these days because I'm writing a book. So, but at me with your hot takes on, let's see, the newest season of The Dragon Prince, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or any of the Firefest documents. There are 2 to speak of to this day. And I promise to respond to you.
Oh man, that was something we really should have discussed a little bit.
Next time. It'll still be on my mind.
Yeah. One last thing, because this is related. I was eavesdropping on someone reading a book on a plane, and there was a Venn diagram, and I almost texted this to you, Kortney, just because I needed to write it down because I was going to forget. But a Venn diagram, so just imagine 3 circles. One circle has energy, one circle has attention, and another circle has time. And they all overlap. Ooh. And in that middle that they all overlap equals productivity. Oh,
I like it.
Yeah.
You don't know what the book was?
I do know productivity was in the title. I don't know exactly the name of the book. So I'm not sure if it was like the productivity project. I don't think it was project. I don't know. But I did see it, but I don't remember it. But I just happened to be looking
That's not
over,
helpful.
and I know it isn't. It isn't at all. But that little part there, I just happened to look over and I'm like, huh, that's pretty interesting. So I just wrote it down, or at least I had my phone out. So you were the last person I texted. So I'm like, let me just put this in a note. And I almost texted it to you, and you'd be like, what is this? Although you probably would have got excited because the way I wrote it, you would have understood it. So, but yeah. So yeah, that's just a little bit of wisdom for you all, I guess. Put that in mind. Put that in your file. And follow me on all things at Ndoob. Go to ndoob.com to find the Patreon, to subscribe. Hello, new listeners, by the way. I'm saying it at the end. For perks, find the TeePublic store, get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more. Please rate, comment, and share the pod on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean, and Spotify. Thank you so much for supporting, listening, stopping by, and pressing play. Tell someone you value that you value them. Oh my God, I almost forgot an important note that Jada told me to don't forget. I had told her about regrets and living a no regret lifestyle. Something I think I may have talked about on this podcast before, but if not, that's something I need to bring back. And that also would help me explore the city. Because I'm like, would I regret this if I don't go? And I'm like, yes, I would. And sometimes we have to do that when we make choices and think about, am I going to regret doing this 5 minutes from now, or not doing this rather? Am I going to regret doing this 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, from years from now? And if the answer is yes to any of those questions, then you have to do that thing so you don't regret it. So do not regret.
I like that. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
That's a real good one.
And the more you do this, the more you practice doing this, the faster you can make this decision, because you'll just run through that 5 minute thing, 5 minute, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years. And again, if you say yes, that you might regret it, then do that thing. So that way, you have no regrets. It's like, for me, I'm so glad that I went out and I explored the city, because I would have regretted it if I didn't. So there we have it. So yes. Okay. I'll find a very simpler way to put that in my closing for next time. But tell someone you value that you value them. Live for the folks you love. I've been your benevolent host, T. Sterling Watson. And remember, if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off.
No.
Oh my.
It's a remix.
The Ndoob Podcast is recorded in a studio somewhere on planet Earth. The Ndoob Podcast is part of the Ndoob Network. And if you'd like to get in contact with the Ndoob Podcast, please email ndoobpod@gmail.com. That is ndoobpod@gmail.com. You can find the Indube Podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, and of course, Podbean, or wherever podcasts may be procured. If you'd like to find out more information, please visit Indube.com, where you can find our store, the blog, and of course, our Patreon, if you'd like to support and donate and find more perks and fun things to listen to and watch. For Chief, DJ Joe Daddy, Bilford, this is T. Sterling Watson signing off. Thank you so much for listening.
Use your words, Chief. Good boy.
This has been another 3SFX production.